This video is brought to you by Squarespace, the best all-in-one platform for all of your website building needs. Hey guys, it's Celestia, and over the years I've talked extensively about the problems that artists face when pursuing their passion professionally. And generally, those problems aren't their fault. Market oversaturation, competitiveness, poor behavior from clients, scams, generative AI's impact on client interest, difficulty marketing your work, burnout, all problems that artists face just by nature of working in the field, and that are largely unavoidable. The point of those videos was generally to give advice on how to deal with them better, and in a way that minimizes their negative impact. Today though, for what might be the first or at least one of the first times, I'm going to talk about a growing problem for artists that absolutely is actually their own faults. Because I'm seeing so many more callouts for it in recent months that I feel like it warrants discussion. Not only because it's to the detriment of the artists doing it, but also because it's doing so much damage to the reputation of all artists taking commissions online that people are so fed up with it that they're losing trust and interest in the idea of commissioning any of us at all. And I'd really like for that to stop, because I think we can all agree that with the state of things right now, the last thing we need is even more trouble getting work. Artists, some artists at least, are treating their clients like absolute garbage, sometimes unintentionally and sometimes intentionally, and sometimes without even realizing how severely this particular way in which they do so will affect the future of their careers. But before I get into what that particular way is, the ramifications it's having for individual artists and all commission artists alike, what causes it, and how to stop doing it, let me take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Squarespace. Because while we're talking about mistakes preventing you from getting commissions, one of the biggest other ones is not having a clean, polished portfolio to display your work on. No matter how good your art is, potential clients aren't going to feel nearly as confident in hiring you if it's not displayed in a way that shows that you're a professional that takes your craft seriously. And there's no better place to build one than Squarespace, because in my opinion and extensive experience, they're the best website building and hosting platform out there. I've built and hosted not one but two of my own portfolios there over the course of many years, both my previous cutesy, super branded one, and my revamped, more professional one. Despite how different they are, they were just as easy to make using all of the tools and templates that Squarespace has to offer, which made a normally stressful process so easy that it was honestly fun. But while they are genuinely incredible for building portfolios, that's really just the beginning. Their extensive library of templates has perfect options for any kind of site you could possibly want to build. So the possibilities are endless no matter what your needs are. And if those needs happen to include online stores, they've got you covered, because they give you everything you need to turn any site into one. The ability to manage payments and inventory, handle shipping and fulfillment, and even boost your SEO to help you get more eyes on your site and more customers in turn. It's perfect for selling physical goods like prints and apparel, but it's just as perfect for selling services too, like consultations, event management, editing, and even art commissions with all of their tools. A streamlined workflow, built-in appointment scheduling, email marketing tools, and so much more. They also make it as easy as possible for your customers to pay too, because they offer all the most popular payment methods like Klarna, ACH Direct Debit, Apple Pay, Afterpay, and ClearPay, and even allow you the option to send individualized branded invoices to specific clients, so you can start accepting orders from all around the world with just a few clicks. So whether you're an artist in need of a portfolio, an entrepreneur building an online store, a creator setting up an interactive blog, or a small business owner making a landing page, Squarespace is the place to do it. And you can find out yourself by going to squarespace.com to get your own free trial today. And once you've built the perfect site that you're ready to launch, you could get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain by going to squarespace.com/DuchessCelestia, linked in the description. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video, and please go check them out. Now let's get back to the problem at hand. Ghosting. This has always been a problem with some artists. They accept a commission, accept payment for that commission, and then don't respond to the client or provide updates for weeks or even months, if at all. But lately, I've seen so many more artists called out for this behavior that it's resulting in a growing distrust in online spaces towards all artists, and a worrying number of people saying they're no longer willing to take the risk and order commissions at all anymore. Some have even said that they're going to turn to AI image generators instead, simply because they feel like human artists have become so unreliable that it's the only way to be sure they'll actually get the art they're looking for. And like, yes, that is obviously not the solution. And yes, clients who would so quickly devalue human creativity and consider an AI-generated image an equal alternative to human-made art aren't clients that anyone should want anyway. But that's not the point here. The point is that it's an indicator of exactly how thoroughly some people are being disillusioned by the prevalence of this problem. Now, I can't say for sure that me seeing so much more of this is indicative of it actually happening more. It could just be that more people are speaking out about it, and its persistence over the years has reached a breaking point of distrust and a massive loss of patience. If it is happening more, though, I'm personally inclined to believe that it's because it's been so normalized for so long as something that's not a big deal, and probably won't have consequences consequences that people feel more okay doing it themselves. A lot of clients are too polite or afraid of conflict to call this behavior out, which only further teaches these artists that they can get away with it. Whatever the case, it's not okay, and I want to discuss why, because I've seen way too many artists treat this like it's not a big deal, and that clients just need to learn to be more patient. Clients are not the problem here. When they commission an artist, they're not just paying for the final art, they're also paying for the process. They're paying for communication, updates, sketches, and assurance that they'll be actively involved in the creative process to ensure that the final art looks how they want it to. No matter what your reasons are for doing this, leaving them in the dark with absolutely none of that is the ultimate disrespect to them as clients, and a violation of the trust they placed in you as an artist. It makes a person anxious to know they paid for something up front that it will take them a long time to receive, and they just have to trust the person they paid not to take the money and run. If they hear absolutely nothing from that person for weeks or months on end, that anxiety worsens exponentially. And even if they don't publicly call out that behavior after the transaction is complete and they finally receive the art they commissioned, that doesn't mean the way you treated them will be consequence-free. First off, in almost all cases, you've lost that client for good. They are not likely to ever want to work with you again, and they're right to feel that way. That in and of itself is a problem, because one of the best ways to ensure consistent income as an artist is to build good, strong, mutually respectful relationships with clients so that if they have art needs again in the future, they feel confident and comfortable coming to you to fulfill them. Returning customers are the backbone of pretty much every successful business, and should always be more of a priority than attracting new ones. If you ghost clients like this, you pretty much guarantee that you'll never be able to build that core group of returning customers that could have been your business's backbone, which leaves you with attracting new customers as your only remaining option, something that you've also made significantly more difficult for yourself. I don't think enough artists understand exactly how important their reputation is going to be for them if they want to pursue commissions long term. Reputation is everything, and once it's been damaged to a certain point, it's borderline impossible to repair. Clients talk. There is an active community in online spaces of people interested in regularly commissioning artists. And because ghosting is so common of a problem that they face, a lot of them warn each other against artists that are known to do it. Just as we have to be cautious about the clients that we accept because of the potential of them scamming us, refusing to pay, or treating us poorly, clients have to be cautious of the artists they hire because of the potential for scams, ghosting, and unprofessional behavior. And they are. A lot of them ask around about others' experiences working with certain artists before reaching out to them themselves. And if word has gotten around that you have a tendency to leave clients on red for months and only finally complete the piece exceptionally late after no communication or explanation, you are pretty much done. Commissions are a fragile thing on both ends. Both the artist and the client take a risk with that transaction, and if you crush that fragile thing by failing to treat it with respect, you might not get another chance to put it back together. And that's just on a social level. Commission sites like VGen have actual rating systems through which clients can publicly make it very clear to other potential clients that you are not worth the risk of working with. And they'd honestly be right to one-star you after waiting 6 months for something that was agreed to take 1 and getting radio silence from you the entire time. There's also the risk on your end of chargebacks, especially if the amount of time it would take you to complete the commission was documentably agreed upon in advance. The client has a right to issue a chargeback if it isn't done within that period of time. If you ghost them rather than just ask for an extension and explain why, they're overwhelmingly more likely to do that. And again, they'd be right to. They deserve the refund. Now, I've been very harsh on artists that do this so far, so I'm gonna give them a bit of a break as we move on to the section where we talk about what motivates it in the first place. Because in fairness, playing devil's advocate, it is almost never done out of malice or genuine intentional disrespect. More often than not, artists ghost clients out of anxiety. It's scary to admit to someone that paid you for something that it's taking you longer than expected to make it, and it can be paralyzing to try to do so when you're terrified that they're gonna get angry with you and either reprimand you or outright cancel it. No one likes confrontation, at least no one I know, and the innate desire to avoid it feels more like a need than a want. And if you're already an anxious person, your brain is going to be pretty thoroughly convinced that there's no way they'll be understanding. Emergencies happen too, unexpected health issues, life events, and so on, that make it outright impossible to complete the commission on time, and could not have been predicted beforehand when agreeing on the time frame. In other cases, artists may just be new at taking commissions. If they haven't done many or any of them before, they're unlikely to have a particularly good, well-informed idea of how difficult it will be to do so or how long it will take them. They might be overly ambitious and believe that they'll be able to finish it in just a few weeks, because they don't have the experience to know that it'll actually take much longer, and then a few weeks go by and they panic, because they set a timeline they couldn't follow. Not out of carelessness or a lack of effort or diligence, but because they genuinely did not know better yet. Artists new at taking commissions also tend to make the mistake of taking on too many at once, because they don't have a good handle on what their maximum sustainable workload is yet, and overestimate how much they can do within a certain amount of time. And the feeling of realizing too late that you accepted way more than you could actually finish, but the damage has been done and you have to, it's incredibly overwhelming. I haven't done it with commissions commissions, but I have with projects, and I know firsthand that it can feel like you're being crushed under the weight of everything you have to do but just can't. But it doesn't matter if you can't, because you still have to. And in the case of commissions, that obligation may be completely non-negotiable if you've already spent the money that clients paid you for them, and can't reasonably offer a refund or a cancellation. The burnout and panic is so real and so all-encompassing, and the idea of actually telling your clients what's going on and admitting that you made a mistake on top of that can feel borderline impossible. All of these motivations are completely understandable, and I would be doing a disservice by not acknowledging and reminding people that the artists ghosting their clients are almost never doing it out of actual disrespect for them. Obviously, there are outliers. There are artists who are just taking commissions on the side as bonus income and don't intend to make art their job, at least not through commissions, and therefore just don't care all that much if there are consequences for the way that they treat their clients. If they lose them, oh well, they don't actually need them. There are others that genuinely do have no respect for them and assume that they'll just wait indefinitely if they make them, so they do. And others that act out of pure carelessness and laziness. Some are outright scammers who do this intentionally and routinely, accepting a bunch of commissions, getting paid up front, and then never even starting on them, only to delete their account when they eventually get caught and called out, and then make a new account and start the whole process over again. These genuinely ill-intentioned artists aren't even rare, and these are the motivations for a lot of the ones that are ghosting clients, but I honestly do not believe them to be the majority. Most are just scared, in over their heads, and as a result of not knowing what to do, they freeze and they do nothing, so you hear nothing. But nothing is never the solution. Radio silence does not solve this problem, no matter what caused it. Regardless of what your reason is for being late with a commission, clients would rather hear it than nothing. More often than not, they'll be completely understanding of it, and, more than anything, grateful for your honesty and the reassurance that they haven't been forgotten or scammed. Delays happen, burnout happens, emergencies happen, and mistakes happen as you learn how to be a commission artist and account for things that you might not have expected. Clients understand that. They're people too, and by nature of being people, they have almost definitely had to delay their own obligations for similar reasons. All you have to do is talk to them, because if you do, worst case scenario, they're not understanding and they get mad. It's unlikely, but it does happen. If you ghost them though, it's almost guaranteed that they'll get mad. If you don't want them to get mad, pick the option where that's an unlikely risk rather than a certainty. By failing to communicate delays, you're turning what would have otherwise been a minor inconvenience into a serious, legitimate problem that will erode all trust that they have in you as an artist, and as this behavior continues to repeat itself on a wider scale, artists as a whole. I said at the beginning that I would offer solutions for the ghosting problem, and obviously we just discussed the biggest one. Just don't do it, because honesty is always a preferable alternative, and clients will be far more understanding of explanations for your delays than they will be of ghosting. But I also want to go over a few to help you ideally avoid putting yourself in that position in the first place, because while knowing what to do when you already have is good, it's even better not to have to at all. First, I never recommend accepting full payment immediately upon confirmation of a commission. In my opinion, it is never a good idea to take money you haven't earned yet if there's absolutely any risk of you not being able to do so. It's a surefire way to end up in that aforementioned awful position of having spent it, only to find out that you don't actually have the time or energy to finish the commission, but now you have to anyway because you can't provide a refund. The only exception I would make to that rule is if you have a separate bank account specifically for commission payments, like how lawyers have to keep the money they receive from clients like retainers, settlements, and so on in a trust account completely separate from their own. In that case, you'd be able to keep the full payment that you received in that account, and only move it into your own personal account once that commission was completed, so that if something happens before it is that prevents you from finishing it, you can easily provide a refund because you didn't allow yourself to spend it. If you don't have that option, however, what I do and recommend others to do as well is to accept half the payment up front and half upon completion. Like I said before, you and the client are accepting an equal amount of risk. You as an artist risk not being paid for the work that you complete, and they as a client risk not receiving the work they pay for. This solution provides a kind of middle ground in which you take the risk equally and invest in the transaction equally too. I also recommend having clear terms of service that explain your policy on refunds based on how much work has been completed. So if, for example, you accept half the payment up front, complete 50% of the work on the commission, and then something happens and you aren't able to finish it, you keep that first half that you accepted in return for the work that you did do, but the client doesn't owe you the second half for the work that you didn't. And speaking of terms of service, I also recommend including a section dedicated to the proposed timeline, so that you and the client are immediately on the same page about what that looks like, when certain milestones can be expected, like the submission of works in progress for approval, and what the consequences are for a failure to adhere to that schedule. It gives your clients some much needed reassurance that they won't be ghosted, because there would be consequences for you if communication wasn't maintained. And it puts you in a position where you can't be heckled or rushed by impatient clients, because there's a set window of time allotted for you to make certain amounts of progress. If you're new, inexperienced, or unsure of how long it would take you, however, this may not be an option. In which case, I would simply recommend that you communicate that very clearly to the client before the commission is confirmed so that they know what to expect. Making sure that they have clear expectations during the commission process is the most important thing here. Lastly, make a conscious effort to determine how long each stage in a commission takes you so that you know what to expect from working with a client. You can't give them those clear expectations if you don't have them for yourself. And make sure you figure out how many clients you can reasonably take on at one time too, so that you don't need to worry about the consequences of taking on too many. Ultimately, when you accept a commission, you accept a responsibility and a financial obligation. Even if it feels more casual because you arranged it in Twitter DMs, that is what it is, and that's what it should be treated as. Too many artists, for a multitude of reasons varying in justifiability, are not. Clear, consistent communication is the most important part of taking commissions, and not providing it is never acceptable, even when your motivations are valid and understandable. No matter the circumstances, honesty is always the better option for everyone involved. If you're ghosting clients because you're scared they'll get mad at you for admitting that you need more time, you're ensuring that they will most definitely get mad at you for the lack of communication instead. You're creating a problem by trying to solve one that in many cases didn't exist at all, because most clients would have been understanding if you just told them. The consequences this behavior is having aren't just hurting the artists responsible. They're taking a very visible toll on the trust that clients have in all artists. It's making people that were otherwise willing to work with us afraid to, because they've had so many bad experiences with artists ghosting them that they're no longer willing to risk having more. It's completely fine to struggle with deadlines, unexpected delays, and burnout. It's not fine to hide that from your clients, and doing so is hurting more than just you. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. Special thank you as always to channel members Joseph Solomon, TC Pratt, Haruki Saluzzo, Extinction Animation, Andy the Hedgehog, Kai the Memer, Jazz, Just Sayori, Hailstorm, Darkholder, Another Foxboy, Palestar, and Cyber Tori, as well as patrons Batman, Kyle Lowe, Jamisha Walker, Kenny Yen, Crazy Asar, Gentong, Blah Mage, TC Pratt, Finn, Celine Merriman, Eldritchia, The Stray Dog, Decagon, Jenny Chan, Cat Bus, Lucy Yamajiki, Selena Beebe, Pryday, Totally Shogun, Insomniac Sleep Schedule, Wing Tang Wong, Marie Greer, Potato, Jazz, Voidwalker, Latte Tabby, Christian Cook, Adam Surovietz, Dorayaki, Varius, Hailstorm, Emo Queen Jules, Lord Darkholder, Show, That's It, Craig, Scarlet Flame 234, The Names Are Gone, Lubuka Owo, and Hello, and I'll see you in the next one.